In this video, I'm going to be making a 2000 points list for my white scars, but not necessarily with the units that you'd expect. Howdy folks, I'm Autumn Witch and I want to play with my war dollies. Yes, I spent a big chunk of 2024 painting up a frankly obscene amount of white scars. And I want to put together a list that will do horrendous things to whichever flavour of heretic that Warp Fiend feels like bringing to my table. So let's zoom. Yes, zoom. That's the thing about white scars that I love. That hit and run style flavour that doesn't always translate well to the tabletop, at least at first glance. I mean, they literally have one special character in the 40k range, and he's not even on a bike. Everyone who knows me knows I am a Space Marine queen, but I like each of my armies to have a different playstyle. My Ultramarines are solid all-rounders, whilst my Deathwing are an elite force of 60-odd Terminators to do elite shenanigans. My Deathwatch are designed to be highly flexible on the tactical front, whereas my still in construction Blood Angels army are going to be heavily melee focused. Now, when GW released the 10th edition Codex Space Marines, they basically created a set of detachments that aligned with the fluff from each of the Codex chapters. For the White Scars, they created the Stormlance detachment, and it sucks. But all was not lost, for Games Workshop created another detachment into which they poured all the buffs and relics that brought a grin to the Khan's face. Firestorm Assault. Yes, I know technically it's meant to be Salamanders themed, but it fits nicely with the White Scars too. First, it gives all ranged weapons the assault keyword. If you don't know, this basically means that weapons can be fired even if the unit has advanced, which is very apt for a chapter based around speed. And secondly, all ranged weapons get +1 to their strength within 12 inches. That's bolters up to strength 5. That's wounding Terminators and Orc Boys on 4s instead of 5s, and regular Marine equivalents on 3s instead of 4s. Hit hard, hit fast, except no substitute. But let's get into the actual meat of the list, the meat, which is the units. Oh, by the way, these points values are accurate at the time of recording, but we all know what Games Workshop are like, don't we? Terminators. When I found out that Terminators were going to be a big part of Marines for this edition, I may have gotten so excited that a little bit of wee came out. I'm bringing a block of 10. I magnetised the weapons so I can swap out power fists for chain fists if needed, as well as swapping out the heavy weapons. On balance, this edition, I would say assault cannons are the way to go, but a cyclone missile launcher adds a nice extra anti-armor punch if you need it. Infernus Marines. New to this edition are the Infernus Marines. Each of them carries a Pyre Blaster, basically a souped up flamer, that does D6 auto hits, and thanks to the Firestorm detachment, they are now strength 6 up from strength 5. That's Terminators and Orc Boys being wounded on 3s. Not only are they beasts in the shooting phase, being able to advance and shoot, but with Overwatch they are just as accurate and just as deadly. I'm bringing a squad of 10 because 10 D6 auto hits is just awesome. Scouts are great. Their rules mesh nicely with the hit and run vibe. I have magnetised the heavy weapons for flexibility, but for the basic weapons I've gone for shotguns because shotguns are cool. I'm bringing 10 of them. Assault Intercessors with jump packs. Of course I'm bringing a squad of Assault Intercessors with jump packs. They are the fastest infantry Space Marines have. There is also the Hammer of Wrath rule, which dishes out mortal wounds on the charge in addition to any scored in combat. I'm bringing a unit of 10. A tactical advantage of bringing units of 10 for all my infantry is that I can split them each into 2 squads of 5 if the situation calls for it, and still pay the same points in total. Transports. In keeping with the theme of speed, I am bringing transports to deploy my troops faster. First, I have a drop pod which will carry the scouts, and also a Storm Raven gunship. Not only can this carry 12 marines and a dreadnought, it is also a hefty gun platform. Mine is loaded with Storm Strike missiles, a Typhoon missile launcher, Hurricane bolters and twin las cannons. The Infernus marines will start embarked aboard, along with a couple of other things that I will get to. It wouldn't be a White Scars army without bikes, so I have 3 Outriders. I also have a Storm Speeder Hammer Strike for some extra punch. A lot of folk don't like the design of this model, and I didn't until I saw it painted up as not Ultramarines. My final flyer is a Storm Talon gunship armed with Typhoon missile launchers and the usual assault cannons. Once more, I have magnetized this, but I think that the Typhoon missile launcher is probably the best all-rounder in its arsenal. 2 shooting profiles give the choice of anti-infantry or anti-armor every time you shoot. My final vehicle is the Contemptor Dreadnought. Now, this is a Legends option, but you could proxy a regular Dreadnought for it. But I'm going with Rule of Cool here, and I don't really play at GW venues anyway, or especially in tournaments. White Scars generally don't use Dreadnoughts because they are slow and cumbersome, but this one rides into battle hanging off the back of a supersonic Storm Raven gunship and can be dropped right into the thick of the fight. He has a Cyclone missile launcher, Plasma Fist, and I have magnetized the shooting arm, but I am going with twin las cannons here for some extra anti-armor punch. Characters. I have 2 chaplains in my army. I have a chaplain on bike attached to my Outriders. I would prefer it to be a Khan or a captain on bike, but Games Workshop don't seem to want to make that model, so it's a chaplain. I also have my Kitbash Terminator chaplain that I did a video on a while back to lead my Terminators. He has a relic shield and the war-tempered artifice enhancements that take his Crozius from strength 6 to strength 9. He will be my warlord. I have a lieutenant or lieutenant in Phobos armor, which I will run as lieutenant with combi weapon. He can do all sorts of backline shenanigans. Although he cannot be attached to my scout unit, they can work well in tandem to undermine enemy defences, as my main force is battering them from all sides. There is also room on the Storm Raven for him, should I wish to deploy him thus. My final character is a Tech Marine. He will ride in the Storm Raven and deploy with the Dreadnought, keeping it alive long enough to do as much serious damage as it can. So that's my army list. It has the flexibility to be broken down into smaller units, or to have every infantry model either embarked on transports or in deep strike, so it's full of tactical flexibility and highly manoeuvrable. What do you folks think of my list? Are there any units I am missing? Any units that shouldn't be there? Am I using the right detachment rule? What list would you bring against me? Please share your thoughts. It's always great to hear from you. Please check out our various links in the description below for some interesting stuff, and a like and subscribe would be great. I'm Autumn Witch, and I'll catch you next time on Bleeding Tree Gaming.